Hello, everybody. We are live on the air. It looks like YouTube is working for us today. I am your host, KevinlyFather. This is the live stream. Today, we're going to be looking at an interview with former blogger Donald John Trump. It's not Jonathan, by the way. It's just John. Apparently, his parents didn't want to pay for the entire name. Just John. Just John. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be looking at this interview. This is not the full interview. This is selected excerpts from the interview used under fair use. We are having a conversation, a political conversation. We'll be doing some fact checking. We'll be educating. That's what fair use is all about. So if you want to see the full conversation, I encourage you to go out there and find it. JoePags.com. Pags.com. Joe Pags. Apparently, he's a radio host. It looks like he's in New York. So if you want to find out more about that, then okay, that's what you can do, and I encourage you to do so. Let's get right into the interview, kids.
I've been covering news a long time, as you know. I've been 31 years in broadcasting. Yeah. I've never seen in my...
Okay, so let's just go back on this. I don't know anything about Joe Pags. I jumped around in the interview a little bit trying to get Trump's responses. This is the first thing I know now about Joe Pags. This will sort of establish his journalistic credo.
I've been covering news a long time, as you know. I've been 31 years in broadcasting. I've never seen in my lifetime and in my...
31 years in broadcasting. Again, I've never heard of him, but it doesn't matter. That's an East Coast thing. Apparently, he's very good. He's had Giuliani on several times. So he's big in the political world. Perhaps the Republican political world, the right-wing political world. Again, this is his bona fides right here. Let's listen.
I've been covering news a long time, as you know. I've been 31 years in broadcasting. I've never seen in my lifetime and in my professional career where we didn't know something when we went to bed, or we thought we knew something when we went to bed, woke up the next day, and suddenly forget what we said last night. Here's what's really going on. Did you turn to those closest?
He's talking about this year's election. He's never known in his lifetime, because this is a big thing with Trump. At 10 o'clock, everybody was calling. He said, I won. And then the next morning, like, whatever. The Al Gore versus George W. Bush election was not decided until Safe Harbor Day in December. We all went to bed that night. Now, granted, you've been in the news business for at least 31 years, so you claim. And that was 21 years ago. And I grew up metric, so I'm not sure about you Americans. 21 is what, more than 31 years? It's just like, how can you say that, Joe Pags? Have me on my show. Joe Pags, please invite me on my show. Let's have a conversation. I'll be glad to come on your show and have a conversation about reality, because you're a smart guy. I can tell by listening to you, by your verbosity, that you know how to put words together. You can be better than this. A lot better. We only have elections every 4 years. That's it. So if you've been doing this for 31 years, that means maximum number 11, carry the 2, can't be more than 50 elections for president in your 31 years. Again, I grew up metric, so I don't like ounces. What? So anyway, that's Joe Pags for you. Knowing that, let's move forward. Hey, Pumpkin Pie, Joshua.
To you and say the fix is in. There's something going on here.
Well, the Arizona thing, all of a sudden, when that came out and Fox went out.
Holy smokes, he's really loud for you guys. Hold on, let me turn him down for you.
And, Fox has been a little bit different than they were 4 years ago, frankly. But
right.
So Fox, if you remember Fox News this last election, they called Arizona. Their advanced team called Arizona, because they were doing the math, well before MSNBC, CNN, The Times. Nobody was willing to call Arizona when Fox called Arizona, and they stuck with it. And they were right. Also, if you remember from that time, I called Arizona. I looked at the numbers and said, there's no way Trump is coming back from this. I'm sometimes wrong, sometimes wrong. I wasn't wrong about Arizona. Fox News was also not wrong about Arizona.
That was a very big surprise because I was given rallies there. I gave 2 or 3 rallies. We had 40,000 people, 44,000 people. It was.
Oh, hold on. At Random said she'd been sitting there waiting for it to start, but it didn't till I closed YouTube and reopened. How much have I missed? It's been about 3.5 hours, guys? A lot of stuff. Let's go back to the beginning. Okay. First thing we did, we had a live interview with Elizabeth Warren. And that was about 45 minutes. We cracked open a beer. We had a good time. Elizabeth, I got to say, she got surprisingly hammered. Slurring and everything. Anyway, we convinced her. This was the best part. We convinced her to pretend she was Mork from Ork. You remember that old? It started with Pam Dauber because she was talking about Denver, but she said Dauber because she's a little bit tipsy. Anyway, we had her sit in her chair like Mork, where he does the thing where he puts his head. It was a blast. Oh, man. Anyway, go back at Random. You can watch it yourself.
They were phenomenal. I mean, that's not a poll and that's not a vote, but, you get a pretty good indication. And if you looked at the kind of...
What?
4 years ago, frankly. But,
right.
That was a very big surprise because I was given rallies
Arizona.
there. I gave 2 or 3 rallies. We had 40,000 people, 44,000 people.
He never had 44,000 people in Arizona at a rally. He was doing airport hangars in Arizona doing rallies. You cannot put 44,000 people in Arizona at a rally.
It was...
Maybe he's talking about January 6th all of a sudden, but for a second there he was talking about Arizona. But, Trump, he jumps.
They were phenomenal.
Well,
I mean, that's not
physically.
a poll and that's not a vote, but,
It is not a poll and it is not a vote. It's just some people and it's not 44,000 people.
You get a pretty good indication. And if you looked at the kind of numbers we got in Florida.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders does a better monk. You missed it at Random. Bernie Sanders was on the show as well. And we were talking about Tony Shalhoub because we watched a Tony Shalhoub movie last Friday, I think. What movie? Now I can't even remember what we watched. We talked about it so much. Yeah, we talked a little bit about Tony Shalhoub and how funny he is. Bernie does a really damn good Tony Shalhoub, but only as monk. So catch up on that. That's probably about 45 minutes in. That's before Elizabeth. So if you're watching Elizabeth and she doesn't have her top off, go back and get to Bernie.
In Ohio and Iowa and South Carolina and all these different places, we were setting records everywhere.
Oh, no. Sorry. When I say Elizabeth Warren top, I meant she was wearing a mascot head for a while. There's a school she graduated from or taught in or something. She stole the mascot head. It's like a tiger, but it looks like a leopard, right? Because there are the tigers, the school she taught at. But no, tigers don't have spots. There's spots on this mascot. She'd never noticed before. Somebody in the chat room, I think it was Stephanie, pointed it out. That's a leopard, right? So anyway, it was good times. But she took that off eventually. Like, she started the interview from there. That's where things started and escalated.
We were doing numbers that nobody's ever seen before.
Right.
And then all of
numbers that no one's ever seen before. 44,000. No one knew the concept of 44,000. Remember, they used to get to 43,000 and then just stop. Where are you going to go from there?
All of a sudden, when it came to certain swing states, just certain of them, you don't win South Carolina and Alabama in record territory and then lose Georgia.
He didn't win those states in record territory and then lose. He didn't, because that didn't happen.
An example. It just doesn't happen.
It didn't.
So we saw a lot of bad stuff going on. I got going through the ballot.
Donald Trump is correct. I just skipped
people that night, the election night, saying congratulations. It was great.
People who are idiots called him on election night saying congratulations before the race was certified. And I tell you, it was just like, I remember being Dewey. When President Dewey was elected, I called him up immediately. I was only 4 years old, but I called him up and said, congratulations, President Dewey. You beat Truman. You handed his ass on a plate. You don't win in record numbers like that and then not end up being president.
Everyone thought the election was over. And then early in the morning, you saw what was going on. All of a sudden, things started changing rapidly. Big drops were made.
Yeah, drops, not dumps. Now he's calling them drops.
And it's a disgrace, and they know it too. They know it, and they've been.
I don't know it. And what am I? I'm some kind of liberal. Deceptive? Devious. I'm a devious liberal, and I don't know it. I promise you, I don't know it.
Caught. You watch Arizona. Take a look at what's going on in Arizona. It's a very, very important state right now because you have a patriotic, great patriots in the Senate, Republican patriots, and they are going through the ballots. And we're going to have to see what happens because they're doing a forensic audit.
But President McGovern, granted, was known for big dumps. One of the best presidents we've ever had. I think he's the guy who hired Fauci, right?
Like nobody's done. And I predict, based on the initial findings, you saw, I don't know if you saw yesterday, the head of the Senate, the Arizona Senate, wrote a letter, and it's a very strong letter. Now, it's not determinative yet,
right? Because
they didn't mention everything, but they mentioned some things that were really.
Oh, wow. This is a very strong letter, as long as it's strong. Remember, back in April, he said that the United States was investigating the Wuhan lab theory very, very strongly. They were looking at it strongly. So that's why we figured it out. And now everyone's like, we know exactly where the virus came from. Thank you, President Trump.
Really bad. And I will tell you that if that happens, we will have won that state by a tremendous amount. But we have to wait for the final result. I would say this, stay tuned for Arizona. And also watch what's going on. Take a look at what's going on in New Hampshire. Take a look at what's going on in numerous states. But a lot of people are watching Arizona, and you're going to see, we need 2 states.
Yeah.
3 small ones, I guess, but 2.
They don't need any states. It's over. The election has been certified by everyone who's supposed to certify it. The secretaries of states, 29 of them Republicans. The governors of all the states, 27 of them Republicans. And then the House and the Senate of the United States. It's over. There's nothing that can be done to change the results of the election. It's just not how the Constitution works. And that's the supreme law of the land, Joe Pegs.
2 states. And when you look at what took place in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, in Pittsburgh, when you take a look at take a look at Pennsylvania, take a look at what took place in Detroit, Michigan. How corrupt.
It was a sin.
More votes than they had voters.
And I've talked
It was a sin. They had more votes than they had voters. No, they did not have more votes than they had voters. That's impossible. It can't happen. Plus, we know how many votes they had, and we know how many people are registered. This is all verifiable nonsense.
Talked to Rudy Giuliani several times. He's a friend.
Oh, well, he talked to Rudy. All right. Well, then that's that then.
Of mine, as you know. And he told me he's got affidavits. And
It's Joe Pegs not under some kind of investigation or indictment. Like, how is he talking to Trump? Everybody in Trump's circle is under some sort of investigation and or indictment. I don't know you, Joe. Like I said, I'll be happy to come on my show.
President, affidavits are evidence. So the idea that courts kept saying you didn't.
Affidavits are the lowest form of evidence. Even according, affidavits are seldom admissible in court, said one of the judges, a Trump-appointed judge, in one of the election cases. Several of the judges actually said that. But look at all these pieces of paper, these affidavits. These are nonsense. Why? They're not evidence.
Have evidence.
Yeah, right. Bring the person in, have them testify as witnesses. You want to talk about evidence? Provide some. Well, those fans were too small to have food in them.
Is a lie.
Yep.
What was her name? Marissa Carone? Do you guys remember her? Drunk blonde lady. Yeah, blonde lady.
Got hundreds, if not thousands, of signed, notarized, sworn to affidavits, and not one of those people has been charged with perjury, so obviously they're not being called liars.
Okay, but they haven't submitted those documents in court and testified. No court's going to waste this time charging perjury against, and when I say it was prosecuting attorneys, it's nonsense. The whole thing is thrown out. It's over. All of it. More than 60 cases, more than 100 judges, many of them appointed by the picture on your left. What's his name? Oh, it's on there. Donald Trump, former blogger.
They can't uncertify the election. What happens?
Well, the other thing, they never got approval.
Right. Here's the question. Valid question. What's going to happen? You can't uncertify an election. What happens, President Trump? What? Thank you, Marcy. And you spelled that correctly, too. Melissa has 2 L's and 2 S's.
From the state legislature. So
Right.
without even talking about the dead people.
Called liars. They can't uncertify the election. What happens?
Yeah, so what happens? You can't uncertify the election.
Well, the other thing, they never got approval from the state legislature. So
Right.
without even talking.
They don't need approval from their state legislature. The state legislature delegates the authority to the secretaries of state. They handle the elections. All 50 secretaries of state. Funny thing, when I say, so it's you want to, at least my brain wants to, because it's multiple states, is to put the plural on the states, but it's not. It's secretaries. Multiple secretaries of state, 50 of them, they all certified it. So when I say secretaries of states, I drop the R. Producer Joanna noticed that. She was quite chagrined. She was going to take away her support. And I'm like, well, then you're not getting a t-shirt. That's the big news. Producer Rich is back in the picture. He's alive. And we're going to talk t-shirts. And the judges are happy. Yeah, I know. They get paid in t-shirts and pizza. And it's cauliflower pizza. Shh, don't tell them.
About the dead people that voted. You know, they had thousands and thousands of dead people
They did not have thousands and thousands of dead people who voted.
that voted.
Right.
Yeah.
And these are confirmed.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
It's not confirmed.
all confirmed through obituaries and everything.
No, some people have the same name. But just think about that. Let's just say that 3 million people voted in Pennsylvania. You would have to cross-reference every single one of those names against obituaries. Who's going to do that? They can't find anybody competent. They can't spell Norway in a press release.
Else, they had people, they had illegal immigrants that voted. They had people that.
No, they didn't. You can't. You have to be registered to vote. There's a few states where you can actually, if you faked being able to register to vote, or if there's some sort of clerical error, an illegal immigrant might actually vote. It does happen. But those numbers are very few and far between, and they don't change any elections.
Voted that shouldn't have voted without even going. And by the way, all totally determinative. In other words, a big win in the state with those.
No, none of it.
People. But forgetting even about that, they didn't get.
Okay, let's forget about it because it's nonsense.
The approval from the state legislatures and the
You don't need approval from the state legislatures.
Constitution says you have to get the approval from
Right.
your state legislatures.
And that's the
No, it doesn't.
supreme law of the land.
And that is the supreme law of the land, as I just said 3 minutes ago when you guys were talking about what constitutional remedy there is to uncertify the election. There isn't one.
Approval. Well, that's it. And then the support from the state
He got sad there. Listen to Trump. He gets sad at the end of this.
legislatures, and the Constitution says you have to get the approval from
Right.
your state legislatures.
And that's the
So
supreme
they
law of the
didn't get
land.
those approvals.
Oh, they didn't get those approvals. You don't. There's not a single state in the United States where the legislature has to give the approval. The governor certifies the election results given to them by the Secretary of State.
Well, that's it.
That's in the Constitution.
And then the Supreme Court didn't have the courage to take the case. The whole thing is a disgrace.
And there was no actual standing to take the case. Texas wanted to sue and eliminate 20 million American voters in other states. Now, typically, the United States Supreme Court is the court of jurisdiction when it's an argument between two states. Not between the federal government and the states, but between two states. And they looked at this and said, they looked at the case, and right away they realized this is complete nonsense. Because, for example, in Trump's plea, he said things like, was it Eagleton? I forget the name of the lawyer. Anyway, it says right in there, no Republican has ever lost Ohio or ever won Ohio and Florida but lost the election. Well, no, Nixon. Right away. Completely verifiable. All you got to do is use Google And you can tell that this is complete nonsense. And so the Supreme Court didn't even look at it. Well, they looked at it and they said, we're not going to take it. And that's their job. Their job is not to waste time. Their job is to protect the integrity of the democracy, to follow and uphold the Constitution. And that was the best way they could have done that.
Grace, and okay, so let's say that numerous of these states come in, starting with Arizona, but there'll be others, and many of them are looking at it very, very powerfully right now, and many of them are Republican legislatures.
Yeah, that's not a thing to look at election results powerfully. I'm looking at the election results.
So let's say that happens. It's going to be a very interesting time in our country.
There are 322 people listed as Kevin Williams listed in California. Yep. There are probably 10,000 dead Kevin Williamses listed in the obituary sections of California. There's a lot of Kevin Williamses.
It's going to be a very interesting time. You understand what that means, because it will be, how do you govern?
Okay, there's the answer then. So Arizona comes back and you get the Supreme Court to flip the election? Then what? How? How's it work? Well, it's going to be very interesting. Okay.
When you lost. How do you govern when you lost?
It will
going to be a very interesting time. You understand what that means, because...
How does he understand what that means? How is it going to be interesting? What does that mean? How does he know? How does Joe Peggs know that? He doesn't even remember 2000. How?
It will be, how do you govern when you lost?
You don't. You lost. I think you have your answer, sir. Look out the window. Where are you?
How do you govern when you...
This is a few days ago. I don't even know when it's from. Hold on. Maybe Joe Peggs has listed on his page when this interview is from. It's the first thing right at the top of his page. So if you want to watch the whole interview, please feel free to. Wow, he broadcasts 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday, 12 to 3. I don't know if that's a best of or what it is. Here's the full interview.
Hey, great to have you along for the ride. Thank
It's from Rumble, I guess, which is sort of the right-wing alternative to YouTube. I don't know if it's all right-wing, but that's where the right-winger seems to have flocked to after they get kicked off of YouTube. I don't know whether Joe Peggs has been kicked off of YouTube or not. This is from... It doesn't tell me? Okay, well, you're awesome, Rumble. I got to create a Rumble account. No, I don't think I will.
Lost. So
it's a great question.
We'll have to see. I say this. Number one up is Arizona, and that's going to be, according to what they say, within the next 4 weeks. Let's see what happens.
They're way behind in Arizona. So let's see what happens. That's the answer. Hey, how can you be president in August, sir? Well, let's see what happens. Right after I release my health care, my tremendous health care in just a couple of weeks. Maybe 2 weeks, in a very short period of time.
Let me ask you about this idea that Pelosi wants some January 6th commission to find out why 300 idiots did something at the Capitol while...
Let's see what happens.
Let me ask you about this idea that Pelosi wants some January 6th commission to find out why 300 idiots did something at the Capitol while hundreds of thousands...
No. Those were not 300 idiots. Those were very special people. And Donald Trump loves those people. He said so. Don't you pay any attention, Joe Peggs? Those were 300 very special people. By the way, I guess the DOJ has overshot because they've already made like 400 arrests. So did they find another 100 people hiding somewhere? Oh, that's probably Antifa. It all makes sense.
See what happens.
Let me ask you about this idea that Pelosi wants some January 6th commission to find out why 300 idiots did something at the Capitol while hundreds of thousands were peacefully just making their voices heard.
I don't know where those hundreds of thousands were.
Thoughts when you hear about them?
I think I saw an estimate of 12,000 or 14,000 from the National Park Service that were actually on the Capitol grounds. By the way, everybody on the Capitol grounds, even if they were outside, they were breaking the law that day. When Donald Trump told them to march down Pennsylvania Avenue to the Capitol, that was breaking the law. regardless of a riot, they did not have a permit for a march. They did not have a permit to be on the Capitol grounds. The Capitol grounds were completely fenced off. They breached the fences. There were multiple layers of fencing before they could even get to the Capitol building.
Wanting to put together a commission now to further examine it.
First of all, I made a speech in front of the largest crowd that I've ever spoken in front of. That was a crowd.
I can't verify that.
That was incredible. I think a lot of them were there because of the election fraud. You want to know the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you told them to come there to stop the steal. That's what it was. You told them to come to the ellipse to hear your speech, and it's going to be wild. That's what you said.
That was the biggest crowd I've ever spoken before, and it was love in that crowd. It was an incredible thing to watch.
Yeah, the locker up chant is always full of love. Just like the DACA fix that he came up with, full of love. Remember that DACA bill?
And now they want to do the commission having to do with what took place at the Capitol.
Sounds good. Let's figure out what took place.
But they don't want to do a commission on Portland where they burned and killed people, where they burned down buildings.
Have that. Here's what the Democrats should do. Now we're going to have like a special investigation council or whatever into the... I mean, the Republicans shot themselves in the foot. But they'll be able to say, this is partisan. But what they should do, what the Democrats should do, is say, yeah, we'll have a committee looking at that as well. And then just have a committee for a couple of weeks, wrap it up. Let's take a look at the riots in Portland. Let's take a look at the Chaz, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone in Seattle, et cetera, et cetera. Let's take a look. Issue a report. Moving on.
They don't want to do it in Seattle where they took over a big chunk of the city.
3 blocks.
And just took it over, viciously took it over.
David Mix says, what about the thousands of people who were flying peacefully on 9/11? Why focus on the 22 idiots who crashed planes? That's an excellent point, David.
They don't want to do it in Chicago and St. Louis and all these other, and New York, where all of these crimes took place. They don't want to do it. They just want to do it in D.C. for...
That's right. There was a soccer field as well that they occupied. There was a juggler there and some tents, and they were giving away free vegan coconut soup. That needs to be investigated wholeheartedly.
This one event, but they don't want to do it elsewhere. I think it's a disgrace, and I don't think the Republicans should have anything to do with it.
They don't have to.
One of the biggest turns that I've seen in Congress is the hatred of Israel. 10 years ago, Israel was like sacred territory to Congress. They wouldn't have said anything bad. Today, it's like, it's almost...
Imagine people in Congress being able to speak freely.
They've gone the opposite direction.
Oh, there was badminton there too. And here's the thing about the badminton. These people were playing badminton in the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, which was not downtown Seattle, by the way. But so on this soccer pitch, it's a soccer pitch, it's not a soccer field at random. Thank you, as a British judge. They were playing badminton, but they were playing without a net. Like, what's the point? You're not really playing badminton at that point. You're just passing a shuttlecock, which, if you know Seattle, is exactly the area of Seattle that you'd expect people to be passing a shuttlecock.
Nobody,
any kind of cock, really,
would have believed it. You take a look at the statements that are being made.
Also, there was a hot dog stand, and I had a Seattle dog, and it was fantastico. So a Seattle dog is a hot dog, but better. It's cream cheese and grilled onions. That's a Seattle dog. And before you say, oh, God, why? Why would you put cream cheese with grilled onions? Because it's like an angel just threw up in your mouth. That's why. Try it. It's fantastic.
Made by Talib and Omar and AOC. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it's possible because you know, it was not a long time ago that Israel really was considered our great ally,
right,
a great friend.
They still are, especially now that Bibi's gone. Yes! If you haven't heard, Bibi Netanyahu is not going to be the prime minister in Israel anymore.
And we protected Israel. It's the opposite now in Congress, except when it came to me, because
Well, no. It's like 3 or 4 people in the squad that aren't big fans of Israel. Pretty much everybody else in Congress is like, yeah, no, we don't think Israel should get attacked.
I've done with Golan Heights, with the capital of, capital being, you take a look at what I did with the capital. I mean,
Did he just forget the name of the capital? Did he just forget Jerusalem?
To me, because what I've done with Golan Heights, with the capital of, capital being, you take a look at what I did with the capital. I mean, not only did I move the embassy there, but
he forgot the name. He forgot the name of the capital of Israel. Maybe he gets it. Maybe let's give him a chance.
Built it. I got it built. And we didn't build it for $2 billion. We built it for like $500,000. Okay, you know that whole story.
Yeah.
But
David, I know Snopes has done a check on this. What the embassy in Israel? What did that end up costing?
Biggest thing I did was ending the Iran nuclear deal. That was bigger than both of those things.
It's not big. He just said we're not doing it anymore.
By a lot, and it's very sad to see what's going on. Very sad to see what's going on with Iran. Incredible what's going on to Russia. I mean, Russia's dictating to Biden. They're dictating what they do. He's approving the pipeline. I had that pipeline stopped, and he's approving this.
He didn't have the pipeline stopped.
This pipeline.
Let's talk about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline that brings natural gas out of Russia into Europe. The Europeans need the natural gas. Russia's making money off of this. Yeah, it would be great if we could say, like, hey, no more. You guys, we're not buying your gas anymore. But then Europe doesn't have the power that it needs.
Which goes into Europe, it goes into Germany.
Yeah, Dave Mixon says $11 zillion.
It's not even believable what's going on in China.
I don't believe it. Even Joe Peggs looks like he's like...
All of a sudden, planes are flying over Taiwan. It's a whole different ballgame. They would not have done it with me.
I appreciate...
Okay, so moving on from there. So that was the end of that question session right there. Well, not session, but the end of that question. He never came up with the name of the capital of Israel. But Biden's the one who needs a sippy cup. Again, not sure why he needs a sippy cup.
Appreciate your time, and I appreciate you coming on.
I noticed the font too, Stephanie. That's a very, it's like calligraphy. The 45th. This is two different fonts. Yeah, there's 3 different fonts on one graphic.
I've had Rick Perry on. I've had Dan Brouillette on. These energy secretaries did a great job in getting your policies forward, where LNG was being sold to our friends in the EU instead of them getting it from Russia. Where we became energy independent, we became
we're not energy independent. We do import energy. Some types of energy we export. Some types we import.
Net exporter of energy. Mr. President, why would we ever have an administration that would want us to go back to energy dependency on people that might not like us? I don't understand why they're making that move. And to jump on what you...
Well, no. This administration wants to go to renewable fuels so that we're no longer dependent upon the people that don't like us, because the sun is not people.
Just said, to give Iran back billions of dollars we had frozen that we know that...
Right. Listen to what he just says. To give Iran back billions of dollars that we had frozen. To give Iran back billions of dollars. Why? Because it was their money. They paid us in the 70s in order to get weaponry, and then there was a little bit of a coup going on in Iran, so we're not going to give it back to the people that had the coup. But it is Iran's money. And so eventually, yeah, we gave it back to them, because otherwise it would have been many more billions when it went to the international court. And they decided, like, guys, you've been hanging on to this for 30 years, 40 years. Give it back. So, yeah, so he knows Joe Peggs, like I'm saying, Joe, if you're watching, I know you're a smart cookie. I get that. What you just said there lets us know that you know it's Iran's money. Otherwise, we wouldn't be giving it back to them.
On people that might not like us. I don't understand why they're making that move. And to jump on what you just said, to give Iran back billions of dollars we had frozen that we know they're now helping to fund Hezbollah and Hamas with our own money. It's like...
It's not our own money. It's their money, and we're giving it back. You just fucking said it, Joe. I don't understand how some people can appear to be intelligent and then do that in the same sentence. Welcome back, Deidre.
Bizarro world. Why are they undoing this just to say Trump?
It is bizarro world. You're right. What you just said is bizarro world thinking. I'm not going to give you back my money. What?
Bad? There's no good reason to do these things.
They're going to give Iran billions and billions of dollars.
Going to give Iran billions and billions of dollars? I think he might be talking about sanctions or something. Trump is not following the topic here. As he seldom does.
I would have had a deal done with them within the first week of the new administration.
You had 4 years. 4 years to do it. You had 4 years to do it. And for some reason, you wanted to wait until after an election you weren't sure you were going to win. Oh, actually, he was sure. So, my bad.
We would have had that done. And now Iran is
You would have, huh?
negotiating very tough. They're going to give them billions of dollars. They want to go back into that horrible deal, which is, by the way, terrible for us, but also terrible for Israel.
Does he think when he canceled the deal, Iran gave us back their money?
And terrible for the Middle East. We did the Abraham Accords. We were bringing peace to the Middle East.
Well, they were economic agreements. But yeah, the Abraham Accords are very, very good. With the UAE, okay. You know the way that UAE was always attacking Israel? Would not talk to Palestine. Palestine, Gaza Strip, West Bank, Israel, those are the big problems. Even Syria, Iran. And he broke his deal with Iran, broke the United States deal with Iran, so Iran wasn't going to negotiate. We made peace with all these countries that weren't at war.
And frankly,
but still very, very good. Hi, Ann.
Had it worked out like it should have, like the people voted, had it worked out the right way, you'd have 5 or 6 more countries involved in that.
Okay, could have had those countries back then, because remember you were saying there's 12 other countries. When he was doing the Abraham Accords, he was saying there's 12 other, they're all calling, they all want to be part of the deal. There's 12, possibly as many as 20, could be 2,000, billions and billions of countries want to be part of the Abraham Accords. Could have done it. Nothing was stopping you.
Deal. So you would have had 9 or 10 countries by now. Well, a very big role, and frankly, as you know.
Yeah, so the At Random has a good point there. UAE was not going under diplomatic relations with Israel. I think Bahrain was the same place. There were, if you flew through Israel, you would have to make sure that they didn't stamp your passport, because if you went to certain airports, I think Saudi Arabia as well. If you went to certain airports in the Middle East, they wouldn't let you in if you had a stamp from Israel in your passport. And in Saudi Arabia, I believe Saudi Arabia wouldn't even let planes fly over the airspace. And now you are much more free to fly in direct routes around the Middle East. Again, a good thing. The Abraham Accords are a positive. Did they bring peace to the Middle East? Apparently not.
Oh, they're coming to see me, many of the senators.
There's still a lot of hatred towards Israel at random. That has not been fixed.
Yeah.
And many of the people.
Remember, Jared's job was to go over and solve the Middle East peace crisis there. His peace plan was rejected roundly by the Palestinians. Now, there's a problem with Palestine. Hamas, which is a terrorist organization, I get that. It didn't help things. One of the first things that Trump did was move the capital of Israel to, the capital.
People running, they're coming to see me, and the endorsement's been incredible. I mean, there's never been an endorsement like this where I endorse people and they win.
Yeah.
And it's a great compliment.
He thinks he's the first person to endorse people that win.
To them, but it's a great compliment to me and the policies. Make America great again, America first. They have America last.
Yeah, how did the senators in Atlanta do? Anywhere in Georgia, really.
America
I meant to say Dalton. He went to Dalton, had a rally.
first.
Yeah.
Somehow I think America
David Perdue couldn't make it because he had COVID. You remember that? Good times.
first sells a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'll be very much involved.
Who's Noah?
And I think we're going to do great with the House, and I think we're going to do great taking back the Senate.
Yeah, you thought the same at the election last time. You thought you were going to win the presidency, too.
How do you know who to believe when it comes to these campaigners? Because a lot of these candidates say that they're Trump people, they're America first, but it turns out if you go back a little bit that they really weren't big supporters of Trump. Loyalty is big for you as it is for me. I guess maybe it's a New York thing.
Yeah.
That's the strange thing with this almost infanticide going on within the Republican Party. What's the patricide? No, they don't want to kill Trump. They want to kill the young Republicans coming up if they're not very pro-Trump, and if they can find anything in their record that at some point they objected to something that Trump won, or they won't support the big lie, then they get smothered by the party. It's weird. It's just weird, and I don't know how they think they can win if they're going to be doing that constantly.
Loyalty is a big deal. Respect is a big.
Yeah, loyalty is a big deal to Trump. Just ask Jim Comey.
Big deal. How do you know who to allow to get that endorsement?
Well, one thing about politics, I find there's a very disloyal group of people out there. I mean, you have great ones too, but you do have disloyal.
Yeah, you could say that about anybody, any job, really.
People, and you have people, they lie and they cheat and they steal and they promise you that lots of things, and a lot of times those promises don't work out. I've endorsed some people that have been absolutely terrible. The governor of Georgia, as an example, I mean,
Brian Kemp.
Without me, he wouldn't have gotten in. He was the last place. I endorsed him. He went to first place. I then got him by Stacey Abrams. We had incredible rallies, and all I wanted was integrity in the elections, and we didn't get it. The governor of Georgia has been a disaster. You look at the governor.
It's been a disaster. He certified the election that was also certified towards it, forwarded unto him, be it the may. Is this a dagger that I see before me, the handle towards my hands? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, yet I see thee still. Raffles burgers, raffle pancake burger, pancake raffle. The GOP Secretary of State okay, wow, my brain is melting down on this.
Governor of Arizona, he's been, I call him the second worst Republican governor in the country.
Oh, that's very specific of you, sir. Thank you.
No, it's...
I knew at random would correct that. Raffensperger. Yeah, I know. But pancake raffle is much funnier.
It's amazing that...
Pancake raffler. Secretary of State pancake raffler.
You do things and...
By the way, I got nothing against Raffensperger. He stood his ground. He is a patriot. I don't agree with him, but he's an engineer. And I know that engineers just look at numbers, and the numbers don't lie. And he wasn't about to lie for President Trump, trying to come up with 11,800 other numbers that didn't exist.
You work together, and there's great disloyalty in politics.
But yeah, they'll primary him.
Much more so than even in business. I'm not saying businessmen and women are perfect, but I will tell you
Nobody was saying that you were.
Politicians are worse.
In talking about the politicians that have turned on you, can you tell my audience and me?
So this is selected lowlights of the interview with Joe Paggs, with the former blogger Donald Trump. If you're joining us, if you'd like to watch the entire interview, it's available at joepaggs.com, which apparently links to something called rumble.com. So you can find it there. What we're doing here is called fair use. We are taking this work, we are transforming it, we are turning it into a community discussion, along with fact-checking, and hopefully we all learn a little something.
What the hell is Mitt Romney's problem? Can you fill me in? Because you helped get him elected.
What kind of question is that?
And you supported the guy in 2012. What is his deal? Do we know?
Well, he's wired poorly, and
he's wired poorly.
Very disloyal guy. He's very bad for the party, and I think he's very bad for the country. And right now, he couldn't get elected.
He has a spine.
Dog catcher in Utah.
I agree.
Yeah, they don't elect dog catchers in Utah.
But that's what we have. The one thing...
There's very, very few places that they actually elect dog catchers. Usually it's just a hire through the city.
With the Republican Party, they have people like a Mitt Romney.
What if like one state, like Utah actually has a statewide dog catcher? God, you'd be busy.
Romney, like Little Ben Sass, they have people that they just don't
Little Ben Sass.
Stick. And the Democrats, they have lousy policy, but they do stick together. And, let's...
Really? Let's talk about Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, shall we?
It's a lot easier that way, but we have some bad, but we have some great ones too.
We do. Last question, and this is one that everybody wants to know.
Oh, thank God.
Asked it by everybody. Obviously, I know you could run and do very, very well in 2024, and I know that you're considering it. You've told everybody that. When will we know if we'll see you on the ballot in 2024?
Yeah, he's going to give you a definitive answer, Joe Pags.
Well, I don't know exactly when I can say it, but it's something I'm
You can say it any time.
very, very strongly considering. Everybody.
What do you guys think? Do you think he's going to change his mind and run? Because right now, he could be running right now. He could be raising millions right now. He hasn't registered with the FEC because it is, in his defense, it's an entire page to fill out.
He wants me to do it. The polls are all saying I have to do it, but I'll be making a decision maybe before, but possibly more likely right after the 2022 election. I mean, we have the elections coming up. I'm focused on that. We want to get the House members in. We want to see if we can actually pick up a couple of senators. But
I believe it is little apostrophe Ben Sath, or as he calls it, Sky Comma.
I want to focus on that, I think, and then probably right after that. Could be before, but probably right after that, Joe.
I'd be an idiot if I didn't comment on your page today. Is the New York Attorney General just...
This is old. This is, I don't know what day this was posted, but he doesn't have a page anymore. They've stopped the blog, which is probably meaning that he's going to come on with some other Rumble or Newsmax or something, but he's a former blogger. It's a failed blog. He's not even, I've said this forever, Trump is primarily extremely lazy. Incredibly lazy. Doesn't sleep a whole lot, but he's not that productive at all.
Just starting trouble because she's got a political...
So yeah, not enough people are attention. He lives for people paying attention to him. For praise, not for just people looking at him, but for looking at him strongly and powerfully and praising him and thanking him for everything that's happened.
Future in mind? Is that what she's doing?
Well, I don't know what it is, but it's a very sad thing for our country when they use, this has been going on for years now, this whole witch hunt. I mean, I've been, from the day I came down the escalator, it's been nothing but investigations and Mueller and impeachment hoaxes and this stuff. They failed in Washington, and now they send it.
Yeah, I know. I know you're busy, Mr. President. Just one more question. I know you've got some weddings to bomb. I know you've got some golf to play.
Into New York,
I know you told Hannity a month and a half ago you were going to go to the border, and you haven't.
Political Democrats, highly political radical left. But we've been going through this for years. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to our country. It shouldn't be allowed to happen.
Okay. That's it. That's it, everybody. That was Trump on Joe Pags. Again, if you want to check out the full interview, this is not it. There's a whole bunch of wonderful stuff that you can see for yourself that Trump hasn't said before. That's available at joepags.com. So you can see that. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching me today. I wanted to watch Joe Biden's speech from yesterday, too. You know what I need? I need a commercial or something, like a commercial break so I don't have to repeat, send me money, send me money. You know what I should do? I probably can't. I want to show you guys a hockey goal that's spectacular, but I can't. But you know what I can do? I can post it in the Facebook room. So I'll post it there for you guys there. For those of you who watch us on Facebook. Phil Harmonic says, lousy policy. What the F? Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage. Minimum wage, $15 minimum wage is not part of Joe Biden's policy. It's something that he'd like to put forward, but he took it out of the Senate bill, the COVID rescue plan, because the Senate parliamentarian said it shouldn't be in there. There's ways to do that. What you do is the government needs to supplement small businesses with $1 or $2 in order to get the minimum wage to $15 and keep that supplement going till the year 2024 or whatever it is, so that the small businesses don't go under having to pay them. Now, can Walmart afford to pay everybody $15? Hell yeah! That's the most profitable corporation in the world. That's not the right way to say it, but you know what I'm saying. They can pay everyone $15. Yeah. Can McDonald's afford to do it? Yeah. Can this mom and pop who's been paying everybody $7 in Springfield, Missouri, afford to suddenly raise everybody's wages to $15? it's going to be tight. Going to be very tight because we've all been through this recession. I don't know how there's any restaurants around anymore. I'm amazed. I understand how there are. I get that, but a lot of good ones. Mexican place near where I play hockey in Panorama City. It's gone. Great place. One of those places where you would go in and unless somebody eating there spoke Spanish and English, I was kind of out of luck, except for just ordering. And very, very little, and a lot of lo siento, Anglais, Canadian, you know. So El Blanco. But that place, which was a wonderful place, gone. Vegan restaurant not too far from there, good food, gone. My favorite sushi conveyor belt place, and this is, in order to, you can get yourself some conveyor belt sushi. If it's a 7 or above, it's really good, right? That you get an extra point because it's going to be cheap. And by the way, if you ever go to a conveyor belt sushi place and it's expensive, get the hell out of there. You deserve better. Stephanie says, our city has an extra program to help businesses keep going. We didn't lose many. Good for you, Stephanie. Good for that. Cananglish is what I speak at random says. Isn't Amazon number one? Yes. It depends on the metrics you're using to see what's the big. Walmart is the world's largest corporation. They're not the most profitable because the most profitable would be the cheapest amount of investment to the maximum amount of income. I don't know what that would be. Anyway, Walmart does fine, and they can afford to pay their people $15. And a large number of people who work at Walmart also have to be on government assistance regularly. And the biggest corporation in the world, the biggest private employer in America, should be able to pay their people enough so that they don't have to be on government assistance. Seems simple, right? Stephanie says the prior mayor was a Democrat and set it all up. The new mayor would never have done this. Yeah, a lot of COVID could have been handled so much better than it was. The PPP program was great, but all it did was keep people from going on the unemployment rolls. It's still government money going out to them. They're just not listed as unemployment, so we don't know how bad the problem really is. But at least it kept them some money going to them for a while. And I know it was about a year before California communicated with me about my unemployment. So yeah, it was a godsend. It was a good idea, and it was bipartisan, and we should have more of that. Here's the thing. When Trump was president and the Republicans controlled the Senate, essentially, and we needed to have COVID relief, the Democrats all voted for the COVID relief. As soon as Biden comes into office and says, hey, we need to give people money, and we need to give the states and the cities and the municipalities money because they pay the police. They pay the first responders. Many of them are hurting. Not a single Republican voted for that. When a Republican's in charge, the Democrats are like, hey, this is not about party. This is about country. But when a Democrat is in charge, it's all about the party for the Republicans. And it is sickening. And says, my company Best Buy raised it to $15 late last summer, early fall, really taking care of its people. Good for them. We're not getting an extra $600 a week. We're getting an extra $300. There are now several Republican states, last time I think it was 12, that have stopped that $300 a week. What will be interesting? Jobs report comes out tomorrow. Last month, very disappointing jobs report, about 200,000. What that tells us is that the economists have no idea what's ever going to happen. They never do. And those job reports, they'll be revised. I'm going to be an economist right now. I'm guessing tomorrow, 900,000 new jobs. That is just as valid as a prediction as anything that a professional economist will come up with. Because they're wrong a lot. And then 3 months later, once all the revisions are done, they're actually not that wrong. Or they are. Or they're even more wrong. It seems a silly, silly business. It really does. You can take payroll data and figure it out. But the whole predicting a week before the numbers come out, it seems ridiculous. Hey, producer Joanna. We're just wrapping up. Sorry. Anyway, I would love to be able to go to the little sushi place with the conveyor belt. I'd love to take producer Joanna. Welcome, producer Joanna. We were just talking about places that I won't take you to eat because they don't exist anymore. So there are probably places like that near you. We should have just a show. Remember we had a show about places that have gone away since we were kids? We should have a show about places that don't exist anymore. Things that have changed because of COVID. Maybe it'll be helpful to our mental health. This interview with this guy certainly wasn't. So maybe we'll do that another day. Guys, it's been a lot of fun. I'll probably see you tomorrow. I think I tried to broadcast yesterday and couldn't for some reason. Whatever it was. Thanks everyone for joining us along. If you want to give me some money, there's some places you can give me money. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow. Everyone be good to each other. And yes, I am talking to producer Rich about the t-shirts that have been long promised. I'm like a Republican. I'm not loyal at all. I'm a terrible, terrible politician, and my apologies, but I'm going to be talking to producer Rich about it tomorrow. And when we ask you for our size, please tell us. That's all. Really, this is on you. Glad we've learned something today. Everybody, have yourself a great night. Take care of each other. Take care of me. And we will see you maybe tomorrow.